Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe Muro. And now, here's Zoe.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the New Thought Media Network. Welcome live. Once again, I'm back. My name is Zoe Muro, and as always, I am indeed honored to be your host for Choice, Your Creative Superpower. Coming to you from Oakland, California, each Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 noon Mountain Time. We are here to explore how you can wield your superpower for the greatest good as you co-create your life experience. If you're coming back, it is very good to see you here again. And if this is your first time, welcome to the show. I'm a religious science practitioner with the New Thought Media Network, and I'm also a transformational coach. I work with people who are looking to live their lives to the fullest. Today's episode 35, we'll be exploring the relationship between choice and culture. Culture is a great topic for choice because of its many, many complexities. It's about diversity, about focus, personal commitment, societal norms, and on and on. Given all that, though, let's exclude some aspects of culture. Okay, so we're not going to be talking about yogurt. Very important. Got to get that one out of the way right off the bat. We're also not talking about being cultured, as in being enlightened or having specific taste or appreciation of fine art, for example. Okay, so get all the bad dad jokes out of the way, or grandpa jokes, however you choose to look at them. What we are talking about today, though, are things like this. Let me read these definitions to you. The customary beliefs, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. How about this one? The characteristic features of everyday existence, such as diversions or a way of life, shared by people in a place or time. For example, let's say popular culture or Southern culture. Of course, Southern culture would also depend on what country you're in, wouldn't it? The set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices that characterize an institution or organization. For example, you could say a corporate culture focused on the bottom line. Or the set of values, conventions, or social practices associated with a particular field, activity, or societal characteristic. So you could say the culture of materialism, for example. So those are just various definitions that you'll find for culture. And given its diverse nature, what we refer to as culture, the first choice that comes to my mind is this: which culture or cultures do I choose to associate myself with, to identify with? As is often the case when I ask myself a question, another question pops up. How do I choose to associate or identify with a given culture? Which then led me to this question. Do I actually have a choice in deciding which culture I associate with or identify with? When we spoke about identity and choice way back in episode 2, that was quite a long time ago, we spoke of how identity is about as personal as anything can be. So when it comes to considering if you have a choice regarding culture, the answer is an unequivocal yes, you most certainly do. Now, as a citizen of the United States, living in the United States, there are already aspects of multiple cultures that are operating in my life. The funny thing is, though, if I were to try to delineate what those aspects are, depending on your view of the United States, or, well, more specifically, your experience of the United States, you might agree or disagree and say, well, that's not really how I would describe what's part of the culture. For example, the United States is, hands down, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. How does that translate into our culture? Does that mean that we offer the best quality healthcare? Does it mean that we ensure that people eat well, let alone that they don't starve? Does it mean we have addressed homelessness? You've probably noted the pattern I've introduced here, which is, and I've done this deliberately, to challenge the notion that culture is a construct that is always at play, always at the forefront. Which brings me back to the question of whether we have the ability to choose the cultures in which we live. If I were wealthy, and because of my wealth, and I'm talking financially wealthy and financial wealth, if I managed to isolate myself from the problems affecting those who were less fortunate, I would not consider the culture of the United States to be one of indifference to the suffering of those less fortunate, because I wouldn't even be aware of them. I'd be, oh yes, wealthiest country, fantastic. On the other hand, if I were living day to day, just trying to survive, trying to find food or shelter, my view of the culture of this country would be decidedly different. You've probably heard the phrase, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, perhaps culture is in the experience of the beholder. Would that be the experience of the experiencer? Not sure. Every definition of culture points to a pattern or a commonplace occurrence or shared beliefs. There has to be some sort of consistency or constancy for culture to arise as a recognizable entity. But there also has to be acceptance. And that means choice. If I were to interview for a job, one of the things I would want to personally understand is, what is this company's culture? I'm not talking about their mission statement necessarily, although companies that don't have one might be telling you something. But I would want to understand, and I'd probably ask the question in the interview if I didn't know about the company, just really what their culture was. But I'd also be attentive and aware throughout the time I spent there, both in the responses that I received from them and what I was able to perceive. What was the prevailing atmosphere in the workplace? Was it calm? Was it frenetic? Did I get a sense that encouraged creativity or rewarded following the norm? Depending on what I perceived, and of course, what I was able to discern through more research. I mean, I'm not going to base everything on just one interview or one experience. I might think that the job itself would be great, but maybe not at that company. I've actually, over the years, had that exact feeling, that exact experience. And I've even had the reverse to be true, where a company that would love to have hired me just felt that I did not fit with their culture. These things happen. And believe me, for the best. So I would make my choice about this job based not only on how I perceive the culture of the company, but, and this is very important, how it aligns with or it conflicts with my values and my beliefs. It's important to understand, though, culture is not a passive thing that you either accept or reject. Not under all circumstances. Certainly, a company's culture is something that is in existence when you start there. But culture is something that we, each of us, contribute to, and we have the ability to shape at some level. Culture is a human thing. It's a human construct. So whatever culture is prevalent in whatever situation, whatever time, whatever organization, it became that way because people created it. People chose to uphold certain values and beliefs and either downplay or reject others. So if in fact you believe that this world can be a place that works for everyone, hey, you have an obligation to not only hold that thought, to hold that mental equivalent, but to contribute to its success. You get to choose to walk your talk. Culture can be seen as a guideline, as an expression of identity or an expression of values and beliefs. It can also be seen as a constraint, as a barrier. How it is seen is based on many, many factors, but they basically come down to how one views oneself. Right? Being able to look at one's identity, one's values, one's perspective, all of these things. Give an example. Let's take two cities that are about as far apart culturally in some respects as they can possibly be. We'll take Berkeley, California, and Lafayette, Louisiana. Okay. Now, a trans teen living in Berkeley is very likely going to view the culture of Lafayette as being seriously restrictive. Just as a cisgender, heterosexual baby boomer from Lafayette is likely to find significant conflict with the culture of Berkeley. Now, I want you to understand, I'm deliberately using the word likely, all right? Because I am not here, first of all, to pass judgment on anyone or assume that I know what another person is thinking or feeling. So I'm going with generalities to be true. But I think it's a good example because, it helps if you can understand culture as being a type of relationship. And some relationships we don't choose. I am a son. I am a brother. I am a cousin. I didn't choose any of those. I'm also a father, a husband, a friend. All of those are by choice. So if I move to a city which is known to have a conservative culture, and assuming that I did so by my own choice, not because I had to or it was somebody else's choice, I still get to choose how I want to relate to, engage with that culture. Okay. So looking at the example before of the person from Berkeley and the person from Louisiana, I mean, we don't know how these people have necessarily related to or engaged with the prevalent cultures. But we do know they have a choice, right? They have a choice. Now, I remember working at a company that put out as its tenet of their corporate culture or So I was told anyway. The words of Admiral Grace Hopper, who said, "It's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to get permission." Because it was the belief of this company that people would succeed better and faster through decisive action rather than prolonged procedural discussions. Well, I very quickly discovered that this was actually not even remotely a part of their corporate culture. They wanted to think it was, but I'm sorry. They were actually very heavily hierarchical and very methodical in their practice. If you were able to stay off the radar of the higher ups, and you could potentially get away with that approach, but once you got to a certain level of visibility, not so much. Not so much. I'll remind you here, when we were talking about ways that culture is defined, let me get to this one. This phrase, the set of values, conventions, or social practices associated with a particular field, activity, or societal characteristic. Okay, the set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices that characterizes an institution or an organization. Actions speak louder than words, folks. Okay. Culture is not something that gets written down. Culture is something that is, it exists, it lives, it affects life. In earlier episodes, we've spoken about authenticity. We've spoken about integrity. Well, organizations and institutions need authenticity and integrity just as much as individuals do. When we choose to associate ourselves with an organization, a movement, a philosophy, ensuring that we understand their culture and that they are exhibiting the qualities they profess on a regular and consistent basis is crucial to our own integrity and authenticity. Culture is not something we just put on like clothing, something that we can swap out at random. It's something that integrates with and informs our actions, our beliefs, our behavior. So another choice relating to culture is whether we choose to explore, to discern, to validate its underlying values and beliefs. One of the more complicated aspects of culture is that it becomes a lens through which we see life. And as is the case for all lenses, they modify what we perceive in some way. So if my glasses were tinted, let's say they were tinted rose, everything would take on that rosy tint. And as long as I wore those glasses, that rosy tint would be a part of the image as I perceived it. It'd be indecipherable and constant. If my lenses were designed to correct nearsightedness, I'd be able to perceive objects at a distance more clearly, altering my perception of the image, in this case, for the better, because it would be more accurate. My point here is that every filter has an effect on our perception. And we get to choose which filters are advantageous and which are not, provided we are aware of their existence and their effect on us. Make no mistake about it, culture is a filter. So in addition to considering how culture affects and it is affected by aspects such as our identity, our authenticity, etc., there are also the influences of awareness. and mindset. Actually, let me amend that. There should be influences from my awareness and my mindset. You know, humans we're complex creatures, and it's virtually impossible to discuss one aspect of our existence without bringing so many other elements. And the very concept of choice itself revolves around possibly the most rich and impactful combination of factors. I mean, think about this. We've been exploring the concept of choice for well over 6 months here. Right? And the longer I study the topic, the more I find I have to refer back to all of these other factors. I'm bringing this up here now because I want you to appreciate the importance of truly examining your life in ways you may have never considered. Now, as we go through life, day by day, year by year, the miracle of existence, the absolute enormity of possibilities, they can become obscured until we push and pull and tear at the fabric of our understanding of our lives, our understanding of ourselves. This exploration of culture has really brought this out clearly for me. I have a choice to either abide by the customs, the mannerisms, and characteristics of a given culture, or I can ensure that there is an alignment between whatever cultures I live by and the values and the beliefs that I espouse. It occurs to me that my spirituality has at times been at odds with the culture of the very organizations that purported to provide a spiritual centering, but failed to live by the words they so carefully crafted. I guess what I'm trying to express here is that there's a responsibility that each of us has, all of us have, to ensure in whatever way and by whatever means we can find, to bring about a culture of acceptance, of nurturing, love, thanksgiving, and celebration of all life. Think about it. Is there any reason in the world why you would not want to see this world be one of acceptance, nurturing, love, thanksgiving, and celebration of all life? What would it mean to you, specifically to you, to live your life in a culture of love? Not just by a culture of love. In other words, not simply providing that yourself, but literally being able to live in a culture that espoused and nurtured the experience of love. Now, I chose love because it feels, for me, it feels like such a complete concept. But you can substitute any state of being or any value that you feel appropriate and ask yourself how you personally contribute to bringing that cultural perspective to your life, to your actions, your reactions, and your interactions out in the world. Now, if you feel that you are succeeding at doing so, bravo, brava, wonderful. That's magnificent. Just keep on, keep it on, keep doing what you're doing. If not, well, we know change starts within. It's always an inside job. So be grateful for what you have been able to do so far. Give yourself credit for the work you've put in. Celebrate the very process of learning and growing. Remember, we spoke about the growth mindset and how important it is to reward not just the result, but to also reward the effort. I don't often quote the Bible, but Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 really says this so well. It says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. So examining choice through the lens of culture. Examining culture through the lens of choice. There's work. There is good work to be done there, folks. And the choice to do so, that's yours. Well, that's it for today. I am glad that we had this opportunity to get together. And I would love to hear what you feel about choice and culture. As I said, it is a very complex topic. Feel free to email me at zodemiro@gmail.com. I should have put up my banner before. This is what we are doing today. And you can connect with me at any time, whether you want to discuss something, you're looking for coaching, you want prayer. Okay, you can email me at zodemiro@gmail.com. And I would be delighted, absolutely delighted, to see or hear what you have to say. And if there's a topic relating to choice that you would like to see me address in a future episode, or even if you'd like to come on the show to discuss an aspect of choice, by all means, let me know. Be happy to have you. I do truly appreciate you spending time with me this week. But I would encourage you to go to ntmedia.org, which is our website. See all that we have to offer. So much. It's over 40 hours of programming each week. Today, for example, 12 noon Pacific time, which is 1 p.m. Mountain time. Check out Finding the Joy in the Journey with wonderful Reverend Gina Calvario-Kripka. And I believe her special guest today is Reverend Laura Topper. And then at 5:30 Pacific time, which would be 6:30 Mountain time, we have Meditation with the Full Moon. So much going on here, but it does take not only time and talent, it also takes treasure. So if you can go to ntmedia.org and find that donate button, that would truly help us bring this goodness to the largest possible audience, because we are indeed worldwide. We endeavor to make this world a place that works for everyone. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. And until we meet again, I trust that you will choose wisely. Much love and many, many blessings. Namaste.
Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe DeMuro.